Are you ready for another adventure? There are many abandoned castles, houses and monuments around Ireland. However, once in a while, I come across one that stands out. There is a ruined 19th century castle-like estate house in County Carlow, called Duckett's Grove. This amazing site gave me chills for both its haunting ruined state, and the remnants of its once majestic features. It is a magnificent building that started as a Georgian-style country house, built around 1745, and later remodeled by a British-born architect called Thomas Alfred Cobden, at the request of the owner, back in 1825, John Dawson Duckett, I. The house sat proudly in the middle of what was once a 12,000-acre estate. It can be seen from far and it still stands out in the Carlow landscape. Duckett's Grove, considered to be one of the finest Gothic mansions and domain in Europe during the 19th and 20th centuries, consisted of 12,000 acres spread across 5 counties. So, what happened to this great house and why is it in such bad shape today? What happened to the Ducketts of the Grove? Well, let's take a look back a few hundred years and find out. As you stand outside the high walls, and look through the openings where windows used to be, you see what remains of the once great house. The roofless structure seems peaceful and empty, a mere shadow of its former self, but it isn't hard to imagine the grand rooms and halls, lavishly furnished and decorated. Sir George Duckett was the first of the family to arrive in Ireland during the Cromwellian period of the 1650s. The great house didn't start out nearly as great. Some say it was a project of pure vanity. The imposing structure began as a simple farmhouse in the 1700s. This was a turbulent time in Ireland's history, with constant battles between the native Irish and the English invaders. The lands where Duckett's Grove is situated were purchased in 1695 by Thomas Duckett, I. However, he did not make use of the lands until the 1700s, when he built a country house in Rainstown, replacing a small house on the same site where Duckett's Grove is situated today. The Duckett family expanded their estate and wealth by marrying into influent and wealthy families. Thomas Duckett married Judith de la Poer, heiress of the wealthy de la Poer family. This would continue down the line, increasing the Duckett family influence and prestige with each generation. Around 1745, the country house was replaced by a Georgian-style, 3-story country house. The house would remain largely unchanged until 1825, when John Dawson Duckett, I, brought the simple house to a Gothic revival masterpiece of epic proportions, with regal arches, neo-Gothic oriel windows, and grotesques in the majestic towers. He had commissioned the British-born architect Thomas Alfred Cobden to design the new mansion. Few photos and paintings of the mansion in its prime have survived, but it was said to be magnificent. Around 1845, the Gothic mansion was further extended by John Macduff Derrick, an architect from Ballymote, County Sligo, who added the granite ashlar viewing tower on an octagonal plan to the south, as well as turrets, the entrance screens, and the stable complex to the rear, which still stand today. With the newly designed walled gardens, the estate was complete and in the layout we see today. The last of the Duckett bloodline to live in the mansion, William Dawson Duckett, II, was born in 1822. He was well liked and respected, as well as very wealthy. When his father, John Dawson Duckett, passed, he inherited the domain. In 1868, at the age of 46, he married Anna Maria Moroni. They never had children and she passed on May 12, 1894. However, William would not be a widower for long. At the age of 73, William married his second wife, 21-year-old Maria Georgina Thompson Duckett. Maria had a daughter, Olive, and William took her in as his stepdaughter. They lived together in the mansion until his passing in 1908, at the age of 86. After his death, Maria lived in Duckett's Grove with her daughter until, in 1916, Olive married Captain Edward Stammer O'Grady. Maria moved to the house William had bought her as a wedding gift, called de Windsor, in Dublin, and closed the domain. She leased the lands and spent her time between her house in Dublin and her house in London, rarely returning to Duckett's Grove. Her mental state deteriorated over the next years and in 1935, she was placed in a mental institution, where she lived her final years, passing on the 11th of March 1937, at the age of 86. Her daughter, Olive, was the last person to have a claim to the Duckett wealth, estimated at the time at £97,735, approximately £8 million today. In a twist of fate, Maria left her daughter only 1 shilling in her last will and testament, stating in her will, "My daughter Olive, be it clearly understood, is cut off to a shilling." Had she been an ordinary, good daughter, she would have had all she could have wished for. She was amply provided for in her stepfather William's will. In 1939, she took to court to claim her inheritance, stating that her mother was not of sound mind at the time of writing. However, the judge declared that the will was legitimate, and that was the final word on the matter. The money was donated to various charities, under the condition that they were British-based and Protestant. On July 12, 1921, representatives of the Duckett's Grove domain signed over the mansion and domain to the Kilrig Land Committee, representing 28 farmers and labourers from the locality, with a vision of establishing a forestry college in the mansion. After some arguments as to how the land was to be divided, they defaulted on their payment to the Bank of Ireland, and the Land Commission took over the domain. While the bank retained the mansion and 11 acres of land, the estate was divided between 48 farmers. In 1931, the bank sold its lot to Theo Frederick George Thompson, of Hanover Works, Carlow, for a mere £320, about £26,800 today. The mansion met its tragic end on April 19, 1933, when a fire broke out, which gutted the buildings. The cause of the fire has never been determined, but this was the end for Duckett's Grove. Or was it? It stood completely ruined for over 43 years, decaying and being reclaimed by nature, until Frances Brady occupied the mansion in 1976, where she established an animal sanctuary and horse riding school, until her passing on July 9, 2004. In 2005, the Carlow County Council acquired the skeleton of the Gothic mansion, with its tranquil walled gardens. Since then, much work has been done to the building and surroundings to make it safe for visitors. The refurbished and replanted gardens were reopened to the public in July 2007. Today, you can browse the two walled gardens, and the old stables, which now house tea rooms, and a number of craft workshops. The Duckett family has their own private burial ground at Knocknacree, with the earliest recorded burial in 1839, when John Dawson Duckett's eldest daughter, Elizabeth, died, aged only 18 years. There were 8 burials recorded there, the last of which was William Duckett, the second, the last of the Duckett bloodline. The walled-in quarter-acre burial site and its headstones are still largely intact. In 2018, The Nationalist interviewed Anthony Joyce, a dedicated local man who spent 18 months transforming the mostly forgotten family cemetery from an overgrown jungle to its deserved dignity. Upon seeing his efforts, other locals helped out, providing the finishing touches. The Ducketts were quite an important family of the time and claimed descent from William the Conqueror, and the House of de la Poer by marriage. There were also family connections to both the Earls of Ormond and Kildare. If you have the chance to visit Duckett's Grove, you will be fascinated by the beauty of the once grand mansion, as well as the surrounding area, gardens and heritage. It is well worth visiting and exploring. Hopefully, the Carlow County Council, current owners of the estate, will restore it further, bringing at least part of it back to its former glory. Are you in favor of restoring the mansion? Do you think it is worth it? Let me know down in the comments. The Duckett family history lives on in sites such as duckettsgrove.ie, which is where you can find the John Sweedy collection, put together and maintained by his grandson. If you would like to learn more about the Duckett family and Duckett's Grove domain, visit the site and their social media. I have put links in the description below. If you have visited Duckett's Grove, tell me about your experience down in the comments. If you haven't, would you like to visit? I look forward to hearing your stories. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking that thumbs up button. If you like adventures, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. These are the best ways to support the channel and help me make more videos. If you have some more time, I have selected a video I think you will like. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.